Hello, first tonight. The High Street in our region, where more than half the shops are inaccessible to wheelchair users. That's the claim of a new disability campaign group in Northamptonshire. Access for All Wellingborough says there are too many steps and too few ramps, which means that most shops are no-go areas for people with walking problems. Well, today our reporter Sam Reid was shown by one mobility scooter user what they have to cope with on a daily basis. And Sam joins us now from Wellingborough. Sam, I understand tonight there are even demands for a fast food chain to make some very fast improvements.
Yeah, and we'll hear about that restaurant shortly, because this isn't just about shopping but eating and drinking too. And we're always hearing, aren't we, our town centres want more trade. Well, I've been speaking to people today who say we want to offer that business but we don't feel welcome, and they say this is much more important than just the practicalities about where you can buy a pint of milk. It's about being able to take part in everyday life and not feel totally excluded from our town centres. 8 years ago, Rebecca had a motorcycle accident. She now has degenerative arthritis and mobility issues. She has her scooter, but going shopping in her hometown can be impossible. It's
humiliating, it's degrading when, apart from my legs, I'm a perfectly able person. And I cannot get into do something simple as go shopping.
The law says businesses need to make reasonable adjustments, but it's not always clear what that means. And a new campaign group, Access for All, says around half of Wellingborough's town centre shops are not open to everyone, like this one.
It's very typical, unfortunately, especially with older buildings, but it's not that difficult to put in basic accessible ramps.
But the owner says he can't afford to take action.
If we want to do anything, we have to get the permission from the council. That costs too much money. So I think that is pretty much the council responsibility to put something over here.
Could you not do something?
We can do, but obviously if we do, it costs us lots of money. And but the second thing, like if any disabled person come, so I personally go out and give him whatever he needs.
Wellingborough Council is the landlord here. It says it's a tenant's responsibility to make adjustments, but they have a team that can offer advice and suggest sources of funding.
I think the shop owners have a responsibility themselves. They are open to the public, and so they are therefore liable to sort of stay with what is in the law and make the reasonable adjustments they need to do.
Tonight, a letter from campaigners will be handed in here, asking KFC to remove their step.
KFC are kind of symbolic, aren't they? They're a multinational brand that's global. I don't think KFC are short of a penny or two. It's not like they're an independent small business in Wellingborough. They ought to have a national and international strategy to make their outlets accessible for people in wheelchairs.
In a statement tonight, KFC apologised and said they are looking at a solution for this restaurant now and hope to have something in place soon. Elsewhere, Rebecca says she already has a good experience at the town's main Swansgate shopping centre. Many others need to learn from the experience here. Sam Reid, BBC Look East, Wellingborough.
Well, the so-called purple pound spent by people with disabilities each year is worth nearly £250 billion. Well, earlier I spoke to Nikita Archer from Purple Tuesday, a group that urges shops and businesses to make commitments to become more disability friendly. I started by asking her how important it is to make shops accessible.
It's really important that shops make their stores accessible to wheelchairs. If you're a wheelchair user and you want to spend your money in a particular organisation and your first barrier is quite simply that you physically can't get into the premises, it's impossible for you to do so, and it's such a frustration for that person that they are unable to spend their money in the store of their choice. By quite simply putting a ramp in place, even if that's not a fixed ramp but something that you could potentially pick up and move as and when you need it, that massively improves the customer experience for that person.
Now, we know that the disability pound, it's worth nearly £250 billion each year. So stores that don't do these simple changes, they're missing out at their peril, aren't they?
Yes, they are absolutely missing out by not making these changes. There's around 10% of organisations that are actually currently implementing change for disabled customers. That's 90% of the UK organisations who aren't currently really doing anything to help them.
More and more of us are shopping online now, so what changes do you want online retailers to make?
They can complete an online accessibility audit, and that will highlight to them where they can make their changes. So it might be a case of your alt tags need to be updated to ensure that if somebody who's visually impaired is looking at products on your website, they know exactly what is in front of them. Be much more detailed and much more thorough so that they can paint a picture of that themselves in their mind, so that they know what they're looking at.
How important is it that both shops and employers engage with the efforts that you're making?
It's so important for everybody to take part. I don't think there's any organisation who doesn't need to improve their accessibility. Even if you are a particular employer who is already disability confident and you're already taking all the right steps, there is always improvements to be made, no matter what you're doing at the moment. It could be a very small improvement, but improvements nonetheless.
Nikita Archer talking to me earlier. And if you've encountered any problems accessing shops, restaurants or other businesses, you can contact us with your stories. The details are below.